As of this recording on Sunday night, Rogue One has already catapulted to a $155 million domestic haul and at $290.5 globally. So a lot of y'all DM me asking me, have I seen it? What do I think? And remember, just as the title says, this is 100% a spoiler talk, so fair warning. This movie made me give a damn about Star Wars. And let me clarify that the original Star Wars was not my generation. I didn't grow up with the originals. I had just turned 3 when the last one, Return of the Jedi, came out. So when I hear other pundits like the Collider guys or Jeremy Johns or the Schmoes talking about it, I don't get that enthusiasm. Even when I was older and they'd rerun it on TBS or TNT, I still never got into it, and I'd never get through it. And then having seen the prequels in high school and all but the fight on Mustafar, they were not good. But having seen Rogue One made me immediately want to watch the first one, A New Hope, which I did immediately after, because it immediately cuts to Leia's ship, and after the whole crew being slaughtered and blown into oblivion, I finally cared. And when I finally got through watching the original, I was rooting for them to win, because I finally had that emotional connection that's been missing for all these years. And for the first time, I was watching it thinking, yeah, you better not screw this up. People died for this. And that makes Rogue One brilliant. Rogue One is exciting and exhilarating and a triumph for Industrial Light and Magic, because again, why I gave my backstory in the beginning about never having finished the original Star Wars and not knowing canon, I had no idea that Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One was the old general in Star Wars. I actually think he looks better in Rogue One, because to me, in the original, he looks small, thin, and sickly, and digitally, they beefed up his facial features a bit. Now, do I find it disrespectful that this was the digital reproduction of an actor who died 20 years ago? No, I mean, I'd argue that if anything, I think it's a tribute to his contribution to the original, because his characterization became so quintessential in A New Hope that Rogue One required his inclusion. With Leia, there's something with the face mapping that's off, and I wonder if it's the light that's playing off the textures that makes her look a little wonky. But for a CGI heavy movie, except for that slug monster that scrambles the pilot's brain, it's incredibly realistic, and I love how well integrated all of the visuals look. And if you've seen my reviews, you know that I get on people for like cases of bad CGI. Like, it's one of the things that I rail against DC for all the time. But the beach scenes, the space battles, the rainy planet, the CGI in this movie is seamless and so well integrated. Like, it's incredible. It's just stunning how real so much of this looks. Especially the destruction. Like, it's horrifying, and you're right there on the ground when it's doomsday and the floor is flying up ahead of you. You know, the score is pretty good, but it's incredible when you consider that Michael Giacchino only had 4.5 weeks to put it together. And I love, hearing about how Gareth Edwards described walking around the archives at Skywalker Ranch to only stumble upon a pile of unused footage that had gone unchecked from A New Hope. So he grabbed it, repurposed it, and that's how we have Garvin Dreis and John Vander coming back as the red and gold leaders during that dogfight with the X-Wings above the shield. I mean, seriously, those point of view shots are gorgeous. Are there some pacing issues? Here and there, but I think a lot of that has to do with the exposition that's given to start things out, where again, someone like me that doesn't know canon, I appreciated the add-ons. Did I enjoy the cast? Sure. All but Saw Gerrera. In his scenes with the pilot, I think Forrest Whitaker kind of overplayed him into cartoon crazy territory. I mean, really the whole mind-reading scene actually could have been taken out, because it really didn't need to be there. Like a line or two of an off-camera event, I think, of what happened with the pilot would have been sufficient. Now, is this plot dark? Hell yes, and for someone like me that enjoys dark and dirty, you won me over. I love how there's moral ambiguity across the board. Like, yeah, the Rebel Alliance is the good side, but it's still comprised of people, and people can be compromised. The decisions that everyone made, they felt organic. Even when Cassian kills the poor guy, because he's the whole reason in the first place that the stormtroopers came over to question them, and if Cassian were to save the informant or take him with him, he'd be dead weight, so he just offs him. Like, I buy it, and kudos to Disney for being willing to take that risk. You know, this was an action-heavy, intensive film that in its last act had me so enthralled in what was going down that you feel the stakes, you know they're high, and I love this choreography for the fight scenes. Like, Donnie Yen was a total badass and really funny. Like, I love his line when they're gonna black bag him, and he's like, "Are you kidding me?" Because he's blind and all, so like, why do that? Like, that was funny. And I loved K2, so when he sacrificed himself for Jin and Cassian, that sucked because you're like, no, and it was a punch to the gut too, because that was the moment I realized that, man, no one's getting out of this alive. They're all gonna die. This is preparation for that because they're all going down in this fight. And I thought they did a pretty good job for having us care about the characters a bit. We don't need their backstory because we see their camaraderie forming, and for me, it's enough. And I'm pretty sure that that's the reason we didn't spend more time with Felicity Jones and Diego Luna or Donnie Yen, because if you linger, we'll be too attached and less inclined to leave the theater with a good feeling that they're manipulating you into feeling with the whole Princess Leia reveal and her line of hope. But I hated Ben Mendelsohn. Didn't you hate Ben Mendelsohn? That little Weasley rat. And finally we saw Darth Vader in a terrifying way, because, you know, I'd always heard that Darth Vader's creepy, but I never bought it because I never saw it in any of the originals, you know? But this ending where he's on the ship and he lights up that hallway and it feels straight out of a horror movie, like, that was so intense and so cool. And you know, what I really love about this movie is that it fixes two of the biggest grievances I've had with the originals: the vent and the stormtroopers never hitting their targets. Like, I love that the flaw in the design of the Death Star is intentional. This whole story is about how Jin's dad created it on purpose to bring down the Empire's prized possession. And finally, we know it's part of the power of the Force. Thanks to Donnie Yen's scenes, we know that it's the Force that's shielding these characters from the stormtroopers' blasters. Like, this movie changed my perspective from, well, that's stupid, to, oh, that's why. I mean, it's just incredible that this was the first anthology movie. Like, it's way better than The Force Awakens for me. Like, this put the war in Star Wars for me. It's incredible and exciting, and I'm so thrilled for what else could be coming out ahead that fleshes out this mythology. Like, you got me, I'm on board. So I loved it, giving this a 9 out of 10 for me. This was awesome. Except for the Force romance. There was no need for that. That should have been cut. I don't know why that was there. But was there anything else that I'm missing? I mean, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. I totally want to hear what you guys thought. But yeah, I thought this was epic. And hey, be sure to check out movieNewsAndReviews.us for the latest in news, trailers, featurettes, and more. So be sure to check us out. And remember, please subscribe so that you're notified in your newsfeed when the next video is uploaded. Please remember to give this video a like and share it about, and help support this channel through Patreon and using any of the affiliate links in the description below. You people are awesome, as always. And thanks for watching.